Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. You know, I mention on here often about how you should be stocking up on stuff, right? And that at some point there will be certain things that will either be too expensive to buy. It just won't be available. The supply may be so thin that it's difficult to get, or maybe you just won't have the proper paperwork to purchase it or the proper type of currency. So that's why we should take advantage of every time we're able to stock up on the things that we believe that we will need in the coming storm. Now, today we're going to be talking about one that's really important and some information that's come to light in the last couple of days, and that's ammunition. Now, we've dealt with ammunition shortages off and on for the last few years, really starting with the whole pandemic. And then things kind of got better. And then Hamas invaded into Israel, and things just went crazy again. And we're still dealing with that. It's still nowhere near as available as it was before that right now. A lot of high demand and shortages going on. And it's not just because consumers like you and I are buying it. The government is buying up in large amounts. I reported on this about 3 years ago, that I'd spoke with someone inside an ammunition manufacturing company, and they said that the big increase in their sales was due to government's contracts. They were demanding more in their contracts, more production. So that's been going on. Of course, the whole war with Ukraine and Russia has put a strain on things because of how much we're sending over, even though they may not be sending the ammunition that you use, the components to make the ammunition. You know, you may be shooting 44 Magnum, and you're thinking, well, they're not sending that to Ukraine, right? But the components to make 44 Magnums is the same components that's used to make other ammunition, even artillery sometimes. So, yeah, it's been in short supply because of that. It's about to get worse. So while I'm not saying you should go out and panic buy, you should be stocking up, probably more so than you have been if you need to. The vice president of Vista Outdoors, and before I go any further, I want to pause and say Vista Outdoors is the largest manufacturer of ammunition and ammunition components in the United States. It's also the same company that I reported on a couple of months ago that sold to a Czechoslovakian company, Czech Republic. They had purchased this company for around $1.9 billion, Vista Outdoors. And not a whole lot has been said since then, and it may not affect this story at all. I just thought I would point that out, that it was the largest manufacturer of ammunition in the United States, was purchased by a Eastern European company. So anyways, the vice president of this company, Vista Outdoors, sent out a letter to investors and certain customers a few days ago stating that just a warning that there's going to be a shortage in the components to manufacture ammunition, and that there's just as a warning that it's going to start getting tight. Prices are going to go up, availability is going down. They're going to have to increase the prices to make up for the added expense in all this demand. And what's interesting is that this has happened just now, right, in the last few days. And in the letter, he says because of the increase in demand that's expected next year due to the wars with Ukraine and Israel, that it's going to cause hardships in the ammunition sector. Now, let's just pause for a moment and say, why would there be an expectation of increase in demand? From all that we're hearing in the news, the Russia-Ukraine thing's about to wind down. I mean, according to what we're hearing, that Ukraine is going to lose and Russia's going to take over. And it also, in some ways, appears to be that Israel is wrapping things up nicely there in Gaza. Or maybe they're not. Maybe that's not the case. Because if the largest ammunition manufacturer in the country is saying, hey, you know, just let you know, we're expecting things to expand in these arenas, which will have a greater demand on ammunition. And so it's going to be short supply and the prices are going to go up. So there's a couple of things going on here. Number one, ammunition availability is going to get worse. Is this a coincidence? Is this part of their plan to somehow control your ability to utilize your Second Amendment rights? I'm sure that's all factored into this also. But then there's this thing of the wars expanding, apparently. I mean, that's what I'm reading into it. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that is what he said, that they're because of the demand and the expansion of things in Europe and the Middle East, that they're expecting there to be a higher demand on ammunition. So there's a couple of things here, and we need to be prepared for them. You probably should stock up as much as you can. There was a big discussion last night on my live stream that seemed to be the dominant subject. People were asking about guns and ammo and what kind and all that kind of stuff. Some really good suggestions and ideas. I've just, in case you missed it, I'll kind of, do the highlights of it. Someone was asking, things like which is better, 223, 556, or 762 by 39. It depends. It depends. Right now, probably the cheapest battle rifle that you can get that's a good quality is going to be an AR-15. There's some really good, quality rifles out there that you can get for well under $500, sometimes under $400 at places like Palmetto State Armory. Especially if you want to build your own, which is not difficult. It really isn't. In less than an hour for most people, you can build out an hour, maybe two, but that's stretching it. I mean, I can put one together in 30, 45 minutes easily, and I'm not an expert at it. But you can build out your own rifle, get a kit, and boom, now you've got one, and you've paid $400, sometimes even less if you catch one on sale. You're not going to find a good quality battle rifle hardly any cheaper than that. I mean, once upon a time, it was SKSs and AKs that were the cheap things, and that's no longer the case. As far as ammunition, again, 5.56 is a very universal round, so it's going to be more readily available. It's not super cheap, but it's usually still cheaper than others, even your 7.62 by 39. That used to not be the case, but it is now. The big battle rifles, larger calibers like 308 and 6.5 and things like that are great, but they're not going to be for everyone. For the average beginner user, someone that's asking. If you're asking, then it's because you don't know and you probably don't have it. The rest of you that's not asking, it's because you already know and you already got your stuff, and you don't need someone to answer that question for you. So if you're that beginner, I would stick with something that's simple and easy and easy to acquire, and that's probably going to be the AR-15. It's modular. It's a very, very simple to use rifle, very, very low recoil. It's very easy to be accurate with it. And I'm not an AR-15 guy. I'm not. In fact, I've always been the opposite. I've always been my two preferred battle rifles were either AKs or G3s. But the reality is, for the beginner, you can't hardly beat it right now. So I would go with something like that. If you're part of a group, crew, tribe, or whatever, try to have uniformity in your caliber and possibly even your weapon systems. It makes much more sense so that there's interchangeability amongst each person of the tribe with your weapon systems. And then you need to get out and train. You need to get out and train on a regular basis as much as possible. And there's training you can do that doesn't mean that you're live fire, meaning you would have to go to a range or you're actually shooting ammunition. I don't go to a range. I have my own property, but I'm still shooting ammunition that costs. There are certain drills and things that you can do with an unloaded, a cleared weapon that will also improve your capabilities. So do some research into that and make sure you train. As far as ammunition, with a battle rifle, here's the thing. You have two. People always ask this: how much ammunition to stockpile? Well, as much as you can is the easiest answer. But always remember that you have two stockpiles. You have the stockpile that you're working off of, right? This is the stockpile that you're going out every month and training, right? Then you have a stockpile that you've set aside so that when the ammunition's completely dried up, You know, when it's all hit the fan and you're not ever going to buy anymore, this is what you're going to exist off of for the rest of your life. So it's really two different things. If you're able to buy into ammunition all the time, and, you know, add to it, you know, probably 1,000 rounds for your regular training ammo is enough, but you're going to have to be buying, you know, at least 200 to 300 rounds a month to add to that, which, you know, the average person should be shooting you know, 100 to 200 rounds a month in training, really. I mean, I know that sounds like a lot for some of you, and others that's 5 minutes at the range, it seems like, but you know, you want to have, it's kind of like your food. You want to rotate it. You want to, you know, keep adding to it as long as you can. And then having somewhere between at least 2,000 to 5,000 rounds of ammunition that's just set aside, that you're not touching for that day when it all hits the fan and you can't go to, you know, Academy Sports anymore or whatever. It's hard to say. It's hard to say on exactly how much you should have, but it's certainly something that if you're able to keep putting back. Now, I know people that, you know, they have 200 to 300 rounds and that's all they have, and that's probably what they'll have when it all hits the fan. That's a little on the low side, although I know other people that have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of rounds of ammunition. Probably a little excessive, but nothing wrong with that. Point is that you need to be stocking up. I'd say most all of us could spare to have at least another case or two of ammunition lying around. And, you know, I'm not one of those guys that thinks that when it all hits the fan, you absolutely will be using it. It's a possibility you will be using it. Food, you will be using food. You need food. You need water. You need medical. Those things are guaranteed. Ammunition and firearms aren't as guaranteed, but still very likely. So don't discount it. Stick with things that are potentially NATO rounds or popular rounds, you know, but in the end, stick with what you know and you use well and that you have available. You know, if you have a much cheaper pistol that, you know, isn't popular, but you know how to use it and it works well for you, then run with it. And then if you can upgrade, but don't panic thinking that you don't have some fancy high-speed pistol, because that's what they tell you have to have on YouTube channels. Remember that a lot of the popularity and thought right now when it comes to, you know, guns and tactics is promoted because of popularity on the internet. There's so many things, styles of carry, certain weapon systems, you know, accessories to put on them, how to hold your weapon, all this kind of stuff that are being pushed because of popularity on the internet, not necessarily because it is the best. And so don't get so caught up in the hype about a certain thing or a certain style. If it works for you, then run with it. And then if you can upgrade and do the very best that you can. And don't get so caught up in whatever's popular in the moment by some big mega gun tube channel kind of thing. Anyways, I've strayed way off the topic, but or at least what my intent was. Just remember that there's going to be some ammunition shortages. The prices are going to be going up. Components of that stuff, not just the ammunition, but the components, you know, powder, primers, you know, all that, casing, everything, bullets, it's all going up. It's all in the article, because the company, this Vista Outdoors, they're not just the biggest ammunition manufacturer, they're the biggest manufacturer of ammunition components also. And so they're the ones that's warning that it's going to start getting worse, even though it's already not been great. So it's time to get your houses in order, folks. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.